In this video, I'm going to show you 5 glute activation exercises that helped me to heal my prolapse and grow my glutes. If you have posterior pelvic floor tightness, you're a glute clencher, or you feel really stiff back there, make sure to check out my other video, the #1 mistake I see moms make when it comes to glute training. This will help you to unstick the area, open up so that you can then start to activate. I'm going to show you these 5 moves in barefoot because the more we can connect with our feet, the more we can connect with our core, our pelvic floor, and our glutes. What I'm using in today's video is a bench for a hip thrust, a step up. I also have a band anchored onto something sturdy, and I have a wall nearby for 2 of our exercises along with a mat. Okay, let's go ahead and get it started with our first exercise. We're gonna come down to the mat in a side lying position against the wall. Okay, so our very first exercise is simply just to wake the glutes up. I really want you to do this barefoot so you can connect with your feet because like I said, the more we connect with our feet, the more we can connect with our glutes, our core, and our pelvic floor. So you're gonna come into a side lying position. You can grab yourself a pillow if you need more comfort. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna bend the bottom leg and we're gonna have the top leg against the wall. I'm just gonna scoot myself back so that I have some slight bend in my knee. I'm gonna spread my toes as best I can. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna inhale, and then as I exhale, I wanna think about pressing my foot into the wall, but I'm not going to lock out the knee, okay? I still want a nice soft bend in the knee. And so this way, as you press into the wall, you should feel those glutes fire up pretty quickly. And the idea is that you release and you activate. So we inhale, and then as we exhale, I want you to think about pressing the foot into the wall. Take that opposite hand, place it on the glute, and see if you can feel that glute firing. You should feel this right away. This is simply just a great glute activation exercise, reconnecting your body to really feel what it feels like to activate the glutes. Now, I don't want you to think about squeezing or clenching the glutes. This is how I want you to visualize the glutes showing up to the party is by using your feet, pressing into the foot into the wall. So I've got my big toe, the outer edge, and the heel of my foot pressing into the wall with a slight bend in my knee, and I'm getting those glutes to show up. What I want you to do is I want you to do about 10 reps on the right and then 10 reps on the left, just to see if you can feel your glutes activating. This is a very great exercise. You can add this as part of your warm-up, especially if you're someone who has dead glutes or your glutes are not showing up. This is a great way to really reconnect with those glutes, get them to show up, wake them up before your workout. So I would add this in about 10 reps each side, maybe 2 to 3 times each, until you can really get back to that activation and that connection with your glutes. My second favorite exercise is a hip thrust. This exercise is great to continue to wake up those glutes, but also to strengthen them, lengthen them at the bottom, and then activating them at the top. Our pelvic floor and our glutes are BFFs. Our glutes are a window into our pelvic floor. When we don't have great glutes, or we have that dead butt or mom butt, pancake butt, whatever you want to call it, our glutes are shut off, and so our pelvic floor has to take a hit. And this can create tension in the pelvic floor, which then can create prolapse. It can also create weakness in the pelvic floor. So we really need to make sure that we are working on strengthening those glutes for pelvic stability, but also so that the pelvic floor can do its job that it's meant to do. All right, so you're gonna grab yourself a bench, a couch, whatever it is. You want something nice and soft because your back is going to sit up against it. I want you to think about having it starting at your bra line for the height, and you can play around with the height depending on how it feels in your body. So this is definitely one of those exercises that you wanna play around with to see where you feel the activation. Now we can use all sorts of props for this exercise. I love using various props, but I'm just gonna show you body weight and connecting with your feet so you can really start to feel those glutes activate. You want to think that your feet are gonna be underneath your knees when you come into this hinge position. So you're gonna go ahead and get yourself set up. You wanna think about tucking your chin back. Most important is that your ribs are stacked over those hips. A lot of times you can see over excessive, maybe pooching in the belly or shoving those ribs forward, and we don't want that because that's just going to reinforce bad posture. So if you want, you can place your hands, one thumb on the rib cage and then your pointer finger on your hip bones. And I want you to think you're gonna inhale here, so again, lengthening of those glutes, and then exhale, press the foot. So just like we did with that side lying leg press, big toe, outer edge, and heel of the foot to press into the ground to lift those hips up, you're gonna get a good glute activation. So ribs stacked, chin is slightly tucked, and my head is slightly forward. I drop down, inhale down, and then as I exhale, I press into the floor. Tummy is nice and flat. Very important that our tummy is flat here. So meaning that we're not pooching out, because when we pooch out, that's a sign that the core is not working with the glutes, and the core and the glutes significantly work together to stabilize the pelvis. So inhale down, exhale to lift up. Now, you can add so many different props to this. You can add a ball, you can add a loop band, you can add a child on your lap is a great option. And so it's going to be very dependent on how many reps you do and how many sets you do based on what kind of props you do and where you're at in your fitness journey. So I would say anywhere from 10 to 20 reps to start just to get that activation. I would add this as part of your routine. Hip thrusts are in all of my workouts. Every single monthly training plan, I always add hip thrusts or hip thrust variation because they are a really good high activating exercise for the glutes and such a good exercise for the pelvic floor. The third high activating glute exercise for prolapse and pelvic floor healing is a step up. If you are newly postpartum or you're new to exercise, you're gonna want something a little bit lower to the ground. And as you continue to get stronger, you can go higher and higher. So I have my black box here that I'm going to use, and then I also want you to grab onto something for support because this is going to help activate those glutes a lot more. So you can choose a side. So I'm going to step with my left foot and I'm going to hold on with my left hand. And so once you've mastered this move, then you can add load in that right hand to increase the intensity and the glute activation. So as with all the other exercises we've shown today, is I want you to think about your feet. So big toe, outer edge, and the heel of the foot pressing into the floor as you come up. Now I also want you to think about a slight hinge because when you're straight up and down, you're going to get more quads. Whereas if I hinge slightly forward, I'm going to get a lengthening in the glutes. And when we get lengthening in the glutes, we can get better activation. This is why we have to have exercises that promote lengthening while adding in that activation. I want you to think about squeezing the glutes or clenching the glutes. I want you to think about what the feet are doing to help activate the glutes and pressing into the ground to get those glutes to show up. It's so much more functional than saying clench and tuck, because when we clench and tuck, we're reiterating bad habits that could be leading to posterior pelvic floor tension, and we don't want that. We're trying to eliminate that, okay? So I'm gonna hold on to the wall, and I'm gonna hinge here. I'm gonna inhale here, and then I'm gonna put most of the weight on this front leg. So this back leg is just kind of soft. It's just there to support me. And as I come up, I'm gonna press into the bench to lift myself up. Now notice that my knee is not fully extended. I didn't lock out, right? I'm not locked out. I still have a slight bend in my knee. I'm hinged forward. I grab the wall and then I come up and I activate and then drop down. So inhale, exhale to come up. You can take that hand and feel, are my glutes showing up? After a few reps of this, you're going to feel it. As long as you are pressing the feet into the bench, you are going to feel this. Now, like I said, if you want to do a higher surface, the higher the surface, the more activation. So once your body feels ready for it, then you add in that higher surface, and then you add in that load, such as a dumbbell, into your hand to help create more activation. So as with any of the exercises, nice tripod foot, big toe, outer edge, and the heel of the foot pressing into the ground to lift yourself up and then come down. So inhale down, exhale to come up. You should feel that nice glute activation in that exercise. Our fourth exercise is a banded staggered hinge. So learning to master the hinge is so important, especially postpartum and anyone that has pelvic floor dysfunction, prolapse, or leaking. We really want to think about mastering this hinge. So, but a lot of times I'll hear, I don't feel my glutes. I feel it in my low back. I've experienced that myself, so I understand the pain and the discomfort that a hinge can place on your body. So that's where coming in and understanding how to properly hinge is most important. One thing that I have found in my prolapse healing journey is adding in a band to really get those glutes to show up in my hinging position. So I'm going to start off with a staggered position, having my monster band attached to something sturdy. So I've got my spin bike here. I know that it's not going to pull when I pull on it, okay? So I'm going to place the band around my one thigh here, and I'm going to come out. So I am not going to use any weight for this. Once you feel like you've mastered this, then you can add weight. I'm going to stagger my left foot back, And what I want to think about is ribs stacked over those hips. And I want to think about hinging back. So this knee is going to stay over the midfoot. So over the arch of my foot, I want my knee to stay put. This is another mistake I'll see women do, is that they lock out the knee or they push the knee back. Again, something I personally did. And I also want you to think about that nice tripod foot. So get your foot set up. I like to spread the toes so that I can really feel the pressure points, and think about those ribs stacked over those hips. Tuck that chin slightly back. You want to think about suctioning the tongue to the roof of the mouth, because what our head alignment is doing is directly going to impact our core and our pelvic floor. Back foot is staggered. I want to think about inhaling back, because as I inhale back, I want to think about this spot opening up here. And then as I exhale, I want to think about pressing my foot into the floor as I come up. Now you can play around with the angle of the band. Of course, the further out you're going to get, the harder it's going to be, and it's going to counteract your balance. It's going to work on your core because it's pulling you back, and depending on how thick your band is, it's going to pull you back. So you have to work against that. So another reason why I absolutely love a banded hip hinge. Back foot is staggered behind, and we're focusing on this right leg. I have that nice tripod foot. Ribs are stacked over those hips. I'm going to suction the tongue to the roof of my mouth, and I'm going to hinge back. Feel that nice opening as I come back. And then as I exhale, I want to press my foot into the floor and come forward. So I'm not shoving the hips forward. I'm not forcing my hips to go forward. It is so subtle because of this band pull and because of focusing on my feet that you should feel those glutes, or that glute activating. You're not going to feel a whole lot in that other glute, and that's the point. We're really focusing on this right hip. Now you can play around with it. You can do both sides and do a regular hinge, and you can think, again, pressing both feet into the floor. Now you're going to get a nice opening in both of the back, and then coming up and working against that band. So play around with it. And then once you're ready, you can add load to the staggered hinge. Add weight on the outside, because that's going to work more of your glute med. Whereas if you have the weight on the outside, I have the weight here on the inside of the leg that's working, is going to work more glute med to counteract the load. Whereas if I have the weight here, that's going to work more adductors. And so our goal is glutes, so I want you to hold the weight on the inside. Okay, I saved the best for last. This one is a little bit more challenging, definitely a lot more fiery. You do not need any weight for this for a very long time, because this move is one of my favorite moves I still do today without any weights, because it really does a good job at activating the glutes. You're gonna find a space on the wall, and I'm gonna take my inside foot. I'm gonna press my foot into the wall. Notice that my foot is hovering up above the ground. Now this opposite foot, as with any of the exercises, nice tripod foot, we're gonna focus on the feet into the mat. Same thing, ribs stacked over those hips. You're gonna come tall through that spine. You can hold on to something in front of you for support. You can hold on to the wall. Really depends on your balance and what you feel your body needs. So I'm gonna stack this foot up above the wall, and I'm gonna press into the wall gently while I hover it down. I'm going to think about inhaling down, and then as I exhale, I'm gonna press the floor away to come up. Notice that I'm not locking out. I still have that nice slight bend in the knee, but I have a really good glute activation because I'm pressing into the floor. So again, ribs stacked over those hips, inhale down. It is super, super subtle, and then press, press, press to come up. After about 8 reps of that, you're gonna feel a really nice burn in those glutes. And so that is one of my favorites, as that, not end all be all, but one of my favorite body weight exercises that really starts to wake up those glutes and prepares you for single leg movements. Single leg exercises are fantastic for the pelvic floor because it helps to work one side of the pelvic floor over the other. So we need single leg exercises in our programming, especially if you are someone who is getting back to running, jumping, or any type of HIIT style where there's a lot of impact and jumping movements and you leak with exercise. You really need to start prioritizing single leg movement. And this is just one of those fantastic exercises to help support that and get you back to single leg squats or single leg jumps and things like that that will help to grow that strength in your movement patterns. How you can structure these exercises into your routine is by simply adding in that sideline glute wall press into your warm-up to help really establish that connection with your glutes. And then you can pick 2 exercises per workout to incorporate into your routine and into your programming. If you need help with a program, I have a very specific 12-week strength training program for women with prolapse or leaking. It is called the Core Lift Method. This is a 12-week program. Make sure to check out the details down below. I've structured everything that you could possibly think of inside this program to help support prolapse healing and leaking, so you can get back to lifting weights confidently and you can get back to running or jumping without having any symptoms of leaking or prolapse heaviness. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know what else you would like to see in the next video.